What if the same solid rules that steer galaxies and keep our feet on the ground also hold the keys to the biggest mystery of all, our own minds? Today, we're going to go on a pretty wild journey, one that tries to build a bridge between the predictable world of science and the deep, deep mystery of consciousness.
So let's just kick things off with a huge question. When you look up at the stars, do you see the universe as this giant puzzle? Something that if we just had enough data, if we just had the right equations, we could solve it 100%. For a lot of scientists, especially someone like an astrophysicist, the answer is a resounding yes. Their whole world is built on solid evidence, on stuff you can measure, and the beautiful, predictable logic of physics.
But what happens when you find something that just doesn't fit? An anomaly, a glitch in the matrix that makes you question everything you thought you knew. Well, that's exactly where our story really gets going. So first, let's really get our heads around this worldview, this universe of clean, predictable rules, a place that really seems to have a kind of deep, underlying code connecting everything together. The official name for this philosophy is materialism. The basic idea is that everything in the universe is made of physical stuff that follows knowable rules. And in this view, consciousness, your thoughts, your feelings, your awareness, it's not some magic thing, it's just a really complex side effect of all the wiring in your brain. It's simple, it's clean, it makes a lot of sense. And you can totally see why this idea is so powerful. I mean, just look at the unbelievable scale of a galaxy. It's this gorgeous, orderly spiral, all governed by the straightforward laws of gravity. Okay, now let's zoom all the way back down to our own planet. You see a hurricane? It's chaotic, it's powerful, for sure, but look at that. It's following that exact same fundamental spiral shape. And this pattern just keeps showing up, even on the smallest scale, like water swirling down a drain. From galaxies to storms to your kitchen sink, it really feels like there's a universal language written into the very fabric of reality. But what happens when you find a piece of that code that just shouldn't be there? This is the anomaly. This is the moment where that perfectly ordered world starts to come apart at the seams. And this is the breaking point. Just try to imagine you're a scientist and you discover a pattern deep in the echoes of the Big Bang itself, the cosmic background radiation. And it doesn't look like static or a new star. It looks biological, like a structure that seems almost alive. According to everything we know about physics, it has absolutely no business being there. It just shouldn't exist. A discovery like that forces you to turn your focus inward, away from the cosmos out there to the universe in here. It makes you confront what's called the ghost in the machine, the really, really hard problem of consciousness. And here's the nut of it. Science is amazing at explaining how the brain works. We can map every single neuron, we can watch them fire in real time, but what we can't explain is why it feels like something to be you. Where does that private, inner sense of I actually come from? Science can explain the what, but it really struggles with the why of your own experience. This leads to this huge internal debate, which really splits into two big camps. On one side, you have the hardline skeptic. They say, look, consciousness is just an illusion. It's a clever trick our brain's wiring plays on us. But on the other side, you have this view that's almost like a modern mysticism, and it asks a totally radical question. What if consciousness isn't something the brain makes, but something that's fundamental to the universe itself, like gravity or time? So this search for answers takes us to the absolute strangest corner of science, the quantum realm. This is where the nice, solid rules of reality get really, really weird. And honestly, they start to sound a lot like ideas from ancient philosophy. And this brings us to quantum entanglement. Einstein famously called it spooky action at a distance. So imagine you have two tiny particles that are linked. If you measure something about one of them, the other one, no matter how far away it is, instantly mirrors it. It could be across the lab or across the entire universe. It doesn't matter. They are somehow fundamentally connected. Now, if you take that idea seriously, it leads to a mind-bending question. If the very building blocks of reality are all interconnected in this spooky, instantaneous way, then what does that say about our own sense of being a separate individual? Is this feeling of being a me, totally separate from everything else, just an illusion? And that leads us to the final really big idea, a way to bring these two worlds together. It's a perspective where consciousness isn't just a side effect, but maybe a key player in the whole cosmic show. Think about it like this for a second. Is the world out there just a finished movie that's already been filmed, and all we're doing is sitting in the audience passively watching it?
Or could it be something way more profound than that? Is it possible the universe is a picture that is, in some strange way, looking back at us? Is our very act of looking part of what creates the picture in the first place? So here's how it all comes together in this new synthesis. Step 1. At the quantum level, the universe isn't solid yet. It exists as this shimmering cloud of pure potential, a wave of possibilities. Step 2. The very act of observing it, of measuring it, seems to collapse that wave of possibilities into one single concrete reality. Which brings us to this wild conclusion in step 3. Maybe consciousness isn't just watching the show. Maybe it's an active participant in actually bringing that show to life.
Now, a perspective like this doesn't mean you throw science out the window. It might actually enrich it. The scientist is no longer just a detached analyst figuring out how a machine works. They become an integral, participating part of the very cosmic process they're trying to study. And the ultimate realization is that maybe these two big quests were never separate to begin with. The quest to understand the vast universe out there is completely tied up in the quest to understand the deep, profound mystery of the self in here. And that leaves all of us with one last incredibly powerful question to think about. If it's true, if consciousness isn't just a spectator but an active participant, if we are all in some small but meaningful way co-authoring reality, then what story are we choosing to tell?